Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum viewers. I'm your host Faiza Naqvi with the prayer. May Allah bless you all with long, healthy, blessed life and increase your tawfiqat khair. And may Allah hasten the appearance of Imam of our time and help us build that character that could be helpful in his successful mission, inshallah. Today, the topic, most important topic we are about to discuss is Islamophobia. What is Islamophobia? And it is some kind of a very popular theme in Islamic world as well as the Western world, because in West there are so many things we see around the globe where they burn Quran, they disrespect Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam through cartoons, through and even they attack on hijab, and there are so many Muslims, they are always kind of under a defensive mode, and they are kind of under pressure around the globe, and especially while living in the West. And what is Islamophobia and how it is being used as a tool from a populist, politicians around the globe, and what is exactly we are supposed to do in order to deal with this problem, and what kind of wisdom we require in order to see in depth the realist way of, like, realistically, like what is exactly it includes, and why it is there at first place. So we will talk about it in further depth with our very special and honorable guest, Dr. Sayyid Inayatullah Endarabi, and he's a researcher, intellectual, and a scholar. Assalamu alaikum, Aga. I'm really honored to have you on the show. Thank you so much for your time, and really glad. Agas, first of all, I would like to ask you, like, what are different dimensions, like in the name of Islamophobia we see around the globe, like we treat it as a Islamophobia, and what is exactly Islamophobia? Like, how would you define it?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My pleasure. Thanks. You invited me for this program. In Islamophobia, it's a very common term these days. People talk about it. And just for my viewers in this country, in Britain, let me briefly say a bit of history of it. That it was not until the 90s that the term was widely used in public debate. It was used here and there, but not in public debate. There were some, because Islamophobia, as we call this, I mean, there's always an issue of what the name, the word, and the reality. Now, Islamophobia is something. When you say Islamophobia, I say Islamophobia, we are referring to something, and that something is most of the time it's in our mind. What are you referring to? Now we will come to that. But what I want you to say is that this sort of Islamophobia, which was manifesting itself through anti-Muslim discrimination, this was here from long back. But there were anti-racist laws taking care of discrimination on the basis of race. But there were no laws, nothing which could save Muslims, because if they face discrimination not on the basis of race but on the basis of religion. But it was after the consolidation of Muslim identity in this country. In that process, the milestone event was anti-Rushdie demonstrations that led to the consolidation of Muslim identity, transracial, white, black, Asian, Middle Eastern, whatever, British, Western, white, anything, Muslim, the religious solidarity. That led to the consolidation of it. And it was after that, and it was um, it was here, but on the global level, the Islamic Revolution of Iran had already pushed Islam to the front burner, had already pushed Islam to the political map of the world, active political map. So these things happened, and as a result of this, there's a think tank, a leading think tank, Runnymede Trust, which is here in London School of Economics, a well-respected think tank. They brought up a report in 1997, and they are sort of they used the word Islamophobia, and since then it became a part of the public debate. It was debated in parliament, it was debated in media as this name, Islamophobia. And Islamophobia, they defined it as anti-Muslim racism. They 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 define two main dimensions of it: anti-Muslim racism and antipathy to Islam. It expresses, actually we have to see how it manifests. As I told you, the manifested reality of it, the reality that we see, how it comes out, how it becomes visible. So it becomes visible through anti-Muslim discrimination and antipathy and prejudices against Islam and against Islamic values. Now, as we proceed in this discussion, as we go ahead, I would very much like to deal with this important issue that uh, do we this Islamophobic phenomenon, do we really view it at the level at which we should, or our perception is again superficial and our perception is poor? We are calling something Islamophobia which is not, and what is in reality Islamophobia, either we don't know, we are not aware, or we don't take notes of it, or we don't call it as such. My feeling is that the latter is the case. The deeply and the profoundly Islamophobic things are going unnoticed. And what we are noticing is not, it might be basic, but it's not widespread. There are things which are widespread, which are basic, and behind which there is a full political military might of those who do not want Islam in this world. Now, most of the times we just do not take notice of those things. We take notice of these things which are either which come from fringe groups. For example, in Sweden, there's a fringe group who went and burned the Quran, and there were some people who had gathered. The next day, the Swedish Prime Minister condemned it, and because this is not the official line of the West, the official line of the West, which is the Western political order at the moment, the global political order, it is much more subtle. It's not that crude that they will burn books or they will say something explicitly against Islam. It is much more subtle. And the problem is, if we don't understand this basic thing about the times we are living in, actually my research is precisely focused on this, that the civilization, the day and age we are living in, things have become extremely subtle. And they have become subtle and they have become profound. They are really they are really anti-Islamic. They are really anti-religion in very basic ways, and they are so subtle that we don't take note of it. So Islamophobia is also in that, comes in that category, and we need to take a note of it at the level in which at the level at which it really operates, and at which we must be aware of.
Mm. So, how for a normal person, for an ordinary person, how would you define it exactly? Like, if they have to identify this is Islamophobia, for instance, so how would you define it in simplest way, like so that other people could understand this is what they are dealing with or something.
Yeah, the basic thing is uh, we have to get this narrative right, the Islamophobia narrative.
Hmm.
There are groups, there are parties, and particularly in countries like Turkey, Pakistan, a lot is being talked about Islamophobia, and uh, if I really do not want to use this term when men say doing politics. I don't understand what doing politics means. It has been given a meaning. When you are cheating someone, you are saying he's doing politics. So that means politics is science of cheating. But let's not get into that. That's a very gray area. But I was saying, in countries like Pakistan or Turkey, let's take these two. People are taking a lot of political advantage and making political capital by indulging into populist narrative, a narrative that sells with the people. And populist narratives are never. They always strengthen the status quo. Populist narratives are meant to feed people's what already is in people's minds, their sentiments and whatever they have been fed with. The populist narrative strengthens that, and in a sense, the populist narrative perpetuates the status quo. I- if you keep on doing populist politics, you can never change the situation. Now, Islamophobia also has become a part of populist politics. Now, take for example Turkey. Turkey has a problem with Sweden. The problem is of the Kurds. The Kurds are supported, as Turkey says. Kurds are supported by Turkey, and uh, Turkey has that issue with Sweden. And now in Sweden, something happens as I talked earlier. Someone did this. Now Turkey and Turkish media, they made a huge noise about it. The others did not do that much, but Turkey, and what was clear that Turkey was using it for its own political game with Sweden. It was that. So this uh, this Islamophobia, as you were asking me, how can we make people aware? We should make people aware of, of the real values of Islam, of the politics of Islam. Now, I will give you examples by which you can yourself. I mean, you will agree with me that we are perhaps not doing this, and people are not aware of those things which really matter. For example, now take the question of a modest and a decent dress. The dress is mentioned in Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He sent the dress for the zina, for the it is meant it is meant to give the human body a beauty, a good shape, and to cover it, to further beautify it. The- Now, this is an agreed position that uh, men and women both should dress modestly. They should not dress exposing their bodies. They should dress modestly. And with the women, there is an issue of whether there should be hijab or niqab, whether they should cover their face or they should not cover their face. But everybody agrees that they must have some sort of hijab. Now, recently there was an issue in Iran. There was a huge, there were demonstrations and all this, and now Muslims had to decide which they could not. Nowhere here in Pakistan and everywhere they could not decide who are they supporting. Now it was West was instigating all this in the name of freedom. They were saying
mm,
women should be free. Women were they were holding the banners that it is me, it is my body, it is my authority, it is me who has to decide. Why are you imposing on me? Now, Muslims could not decide that hijab is something very integral to Islam. It's very important, and this Islamophobia cannot be more than this. When you oppose hijab, you are opposing a very fundamental thing of Islam. So, but we are not taking it as such. Or, say, for example, in on I saw on YouTube also. These were widely spread things, widely distributed. Uh, the ulama in Iran, ulama have that turban. Uh, Someone would come on the scooter, on the motorbike, and push the turban down on the floor, and uh, they were hooligans which were let out to do this, and this was highly derogatory because ulama are the in our social structure, in our polity, ulama are the respected people. We have to respect them, but someone coming and pushing the turban and turban falling on the ground, this is highly derogatory. This is Islamophobic. This is, but uh, these things we don't take notice of. And I told you earlier that the West, that is the West led by United States of America, the secular West, is a very powerful bloc, military, economic, political. The person who did this in Sweden, who burned the Quran, he does not represent the power of West. He did not do it on the basis of the political and military power of the West. But these things which I told you, I mean, he was one person. He could have been, uh, I mean, anyone could have gone there, and he could have caught him by arms and put him on the ground. I mean, I'm just saying, he did not represent a huge power. He was himself, and there were some people. But things which represent the total power of West are these things which I'm talking about. Say anti-hijab, anti-ulama. What's the problem of America with Iran? The problem is there's a different social structure, there's a different leadership, and it's a civilizational issue. It's the civilizational issue for the West. So these are more deeper things which matter, but we do not take note of it. And as I said, it was not, Muslims could not decide which way they should be. Should they be with the West is saying it is freedom? Yes. Should they be with the freedom, or should they be with the hijab? Because it was not as clear as burning of Quran. They thought
mm,
they could not make up their minds. So this thing, I'm saying, the Islamophobia narrative should become a proper narrative, and it should make people aware and sensitive to the cardinal issue, to the integral issues of Islam. Before I end this, I will add one more thing, which is very important. Say, for example, and before this, let me tell you, the Islamophobia, it's mainly generated from different sections of society, from media, and then governments do their job, but it's not officially spread by government.
mm,
It comes from various sections of society and media particularly. Now, you are a media person, you can see how much, how much the word jihad, how much it is stigmatized, how much
mm,
it is you have demonized it. It has been demonized to the extent that Muslims themselves are sort of there. But let me tell you, jihad is one integral, very basic thing of Islam. It neither means bloodshed, it neither means holy war. It means resisting. It means building yourself. It means what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Balad. Allah said in Surah Balad that we showed وَهَدَيْنَاهُ النَّجَدَيْنِ, we showed the ways. Then Allah says فَلَقْتَهَمَ الْأَقْبَةِ. And I will read out this uh, Pickthall's translation of what he has translated it. He has says, but he has not, the man has not attempted the ascent. Ascent means the upward way, the way which goes up, the way where we have to exert energy to go up. If you don't exert energy, by default you will slide down. But Islam wants you to take up. It is ascent. This ascent is only with jihad. Jihad is a way of life. It is not necessarily fighting. That is in Quran. It's called qital. That's a qital. That's a different thing. But jihad is for Muslims. It is way of life. Muslim cannot be a Muslim without jihad, because let me tell you, uh, 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 this is a common sense thing that we are we are in changing situations. Situations can unfold before us. Someone is strong, the situation may make him weak. But what is to be done? Do we accept the situation or do we confront it? Do we resist it? All this resistance, all this upward movement, our movement towards Allah, inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un, that our journey towards Allah, whatever stops it, whatever obstacles are there, we have to remove them and continue our journey. This is jihad, and jihad is so much stigmatized, and it is so much, it has been demonized that we can't talk about it. That means a very basic, a fundamental thing of Islam has been successfully taken out of our discourse and our narrative, because the Islamophobia is there. Those are the deeper levels of Islamophobia.
Hmm. I would like to ask you, like, how do you see, like, obviously, when we see the acts like this, like where the people are creating cartoons and they are being published in the, uh, their monthly magazines, and the way you said, told us, like in Sweden, the way a person comes and just burn the Quran, and obviously, these are the kind of, you can say, like. You may say, like, these are kind of strategies these which are just there to trigger Muslims emotions and stuff like that. But how would we place it, like, because they do it in the name of freedom of expression? So what is exactly the freedom of expression, and where is a limit for that freedom of expression, and where should we place these acts, like, in the whole scenario, and how should we respond to these, for instance, actions, for example, which are, as you suggested, that these are done by some kind of, obviously, kind of people who are doing on their own, apparently, obviously, and they are, like, using their freedom of expression on that part. So how should we encounter these things, and what is the limit of freedom of expression, and where should we place these kind of acts, and where should we look for the truth?
Yeah, there are two things here. One is the freedom of expression, and the other is that why these things are done. Is it to trigger the Muslim response or to
Emotions, yeah.
engage them in protests and show to the world, look, they are they are noisy people. They are depict an sort of a picture of Islam which is anti-civilization. So, uh, so you were asking why do these people do this? What's the um, now? I will come to the freedom of expression, but first I want to deal with this. That this could be a digression. I mean, there are sometimes you deliberately mislead someone. Deliberately, that's a strategic move that you mislead someone. I will again go back to what I earlier said, that the Western civilization, the way by Western civilization, I do not mean the civilization of the West or America or uh, Britain, or I'm saying the secular civilization of the modern world, which
mm,
geographically extends everywhere: India, Japan, China, everywhere. The the defining thing is that it's a materialistic civilization. It sees the world self-contained, nothing beyond it, and it sees the human being as an economic entity. So this is the civilization, and this extends everywhere. Usually, we call it Western civilization, but it's not. It does not mean I'm saying the civilization of this country or any other. It's a sort of, it has become a non-geographical. I will again go to this point that this civilization, it has very subtle ways of uh, advancing itself, and it has very subtle ways of dealing with the divine religion. It is basically this whole civilization. It has emerged as a movement to, if you like, sort of, in a sense, expel God. God should not be in the human domain. Uh, this is what it is about. Now they are doing it in very subtle ways, and we are not uh, we are not really cognizant of that, and they are misleading. This is a way of misleading us, that uh, uh, cartoons and all this. This is we think that the West is against Islam because it makes cartoons. I mean, it gives us a wrong impression about, if you like it. I mean, it's not the enemy, but I'm saying Islam and the non-Islam, Islam and the civilization that confronts it. At the moment, it is the Western civilization which confronts Islam. Now, what happens is, we must understand who we are confronting. We are getting a wrong impression by it, that look, our enemies are burning Quran, they are making cartoons. We don't understand what in reality they are doing.
mm,
I will ask you a question, and I will ask the question to all those who are watching me now. I'm saying that Islam, or for that matter, any religion, any divine religion, Christianity, Islam, whatever, your religion, your books, your prophets, your values, your beliefs on one side. But I'm asking you, you have a life. You have a life of 50, 60, 70, 80 years, 100 years. One thing is what is your life, what it can be. The other thing is its actualization, how it is lived life. Now you tell me your lived life and your actualization, who decides? Who has set a template for what a successful life would be? Who defines success? Who defines good life? These are the things which have been defined by this civilization, and
mm,
everyone on this earth, Muslim, non-Muslim, they may be bearded, they may not be bearded, they may wear any dress, whatever, that is with them. But when it comes to living the life, they are living the life according to the template of non-Islam.
mm. So here
Now
one question
this
I
is
have got.
the depth of the issue, and we are facing it for the first time in history. But
Mm,
they are misleading us. They are making us believe that, look, they are making cartoons. They are saying this thing. Although we could have seen that, no,
mm,
the more uh, Western civilization it is. I will again repeat, as I told you, this is not a geographical, non-geographical thing I'm referring
mm,
to. Now about this Western civilization, it has evolved over the years. It has evolved since 16th century. Here in England, here in UK, it is at the highest degree of evolution because it started here. But others are trying to catch up. For example, India is trying to catch up. India is immature as compared to United Kingdom. United
mm,
Kingdom is so mature that we have a prime minister, and United Kingdom UK prime minister is a very authoritative person. United UK prime minister is the highest executive authority. Now we have a prime minister who is not English, who is not white. Now what is this? People can think about it. I mean, they have gone beyond these things. When Britain went to India, it is recorded. The Lord Macaulay, who was the education secretary, he said, we want to create people who speak English, who are English, but only in color they are brown. So
mm.
there's a professor Ian Morris. He has written a book, and in that book he has quoted a Malaysian lawyer. It's a fact. He has quoted a Malaysian lawyer. The Malaysian lawyer was saying, he asked him his name, and he said, my name is this, today the date is this, because you have said this date. The Gregorian, this calendar is set by them. And he has said, I wear a tie and a suit because you said I should wear this. So there was a time when there were sort of clones, when there were uh, clones of West. These days, there are no clones. People have their own dresses, own languages, own rituals, own religions, and West celebrates it. West promotes diversity. It creates religion out of religion. It celebrates that there are millions of religions. It's not
Mm,
afraid of that. And
mm,
but in most fundamental ways, it is working on our lives. It's making our life. It's targeting our life. So
mm.
there is where we should see the Islamophobia, and there is where we should see how what is against Islam.
So here there is one question I have in my mind from your discussion. Obviously, when we see the secular word, not in terms of geography, as you said and suggested in your discussion, like when we talk about secular states and stuff like that. So where does the religion stand? Because obviously, for example, even if we see in West in any country generally, we do have our mosques. For instance, we go for our worships, we do fast, we do pray and everything. So how do you see the place of religion in a secular state or secular world around the globe? How does the West treat it, and what is there we don't see it?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Uh, the current civilization, the secular civilization, it it started with the expulsion of religion, but expulsion of religion is not a one-off event. It's a process, and this process is on. It's going on. They are bringing up these social agendas, LGBT, gender fluidity. That's all to create a world and confront whatever is determined. Now, a child is born with a determined sex,
Hmm.
whether male or female, or sometimes there can be disability, like we have in so many things. We have a hearing power. A child is born sometimes not having a proper hearing power. So like this, but uh, now there is people are born with a determined sex, and they are out to determine everything here. because this civilization, this started with um, uh, this the process started with doing away with the transcendence, nothing beyond this world. So this is we have reached a point, as I might have earlier told you once in this program, uh, that this is an English. This is a professor. Uh, what's his Professor Taylor? Uh, he has written a very thick book about secularity third, and by secularity third, he means that the secularism started with when we said the governments are not religious. So secularism we understood by this thing that governments are not following religion. Governments are not. Governments are not. Government is not according to religion. Secularism one started from there. Then secularity, he calls it secularity rather than secularism. And the secularity second, he says that it started uh, when we started looking at who are practicing and who are not practicing, who are going to church or mosque and who are not going, like this. But he says secularity third is it seems to be widespread, because it's not a question of belief now. What you are believing, it's a question of experience. In your lived experience, God seems to be nowhere. You, for example, take the countries, Muslim countries like Pakistan, take any other Muslim country. Tell them what's your aspiration. What do you want? They want what is what's called human flourishing. They want the human prosperity to the best. They want to create a most prosperous society. They want to bring relief to their people. I mean, I'm saying this is not happening there, but I'm saying if someone says this, we will think, okay, nothing beyond it. What can be beyond it? But but for Muslims, for believers, things are beyond it. We should seek for Allah, and this world and the prosperity of this world should be a source, not source. Should be a way to reach that. It should not be the end of it. But uh, uh, in practical terms, it has become the end of our social political life, and that is because of what the professor calls secularity three, where God is in our lived experience almost
So,
God does not exist.
mhm. I because we need to keep an eye on our time as well, and there are few
And
questions.
I'm sorry, I did not deal with the freedom of expression.
Yeah, I
Can you
was
give me
about
two,
to say
3 minutes?
that. So, what is the freedom of expression, and what is the limit for that one?
Yes, yeah. Freedom of expression is basically, this was an interview I gave some 6, 7 years before to an Iranian news agency, Pars news agency, and it was then published. My point was that expression uh, expression is it comes after. First is, what is that you want to express? You have to
Mm,
express thoughts. If you have to express thought, if you have to express the conviction of your conscience, you want to say, I stand by it. Then Allah says, La ikraha fid deen. On the conscience of a person, there is no force. If someone believes in something and he can say, come what may, this is what I sincerely, honestly believe. To the best of my knowledge, this is the right thing. And he can go to any extent in that. That means he has a thought. He has something. And obviously he will say, and there is no restriction on that. He is absolutely free. Nobody can curtail that expression. And In Muslim civilization, this has been there. If you see our scholarly works, they have they have raised huge questions about each other. The schools of jurisprudence, they have raised questions about each other, challenging and discussing, arguing. There is no problem with that. The problem comes when you are indecent, when you are hurling abuses, when you are not caring for people's sensitivities. I mean, I'm a Muslim. I'm not a Hindu. Uh, thank God. And but if I go to India and if I talk to some Hindu, I must consider that he has some sanctities. He holds certain things dear. I should not offend him, because if I offend him, then there won't be space left to talk. He will go away. I won't be able to talk to him. I want to engage him. I want to talk to him. But if I just say something which he finds offensive, then he will go. We can't interact, we can't engage. So this is very important that we keep this in the freedom of expression. We keep a balance that abuses and uh, and something which is not a thought, which is only ridiculing people, as was in the Rushdie affair, only ridiculing people, saying bad things about the people, not caring about the people, not taking people's sensitivities into consideration. This is where the freedom of expression does not apply, because there is the person has not to express anything. If there's an abuse, it's not that abuse has not to be expressed at all, whether against religion or against whatever. But if you have a point of view, that is for that one has to express, and there's a freedom for it. And I must tell you that we must hold the balance properly, because sometimes in particularly I have seen it in Pakistan, it goes to the extent where people think that we can't question, and we should not do this. I mean, Islam is open to question. If you keep Islam, I mean, if you insulate it, then we are playing in our enemy's game.
Hmm.
The anti-Islamic people, they want Islam, they want religion, they want these divine things. They want them to be kept aside. They say they're not human, they are from somewhere. Don't talk about them. They are very sacred. Keep them in a good place, decorate them, but don't talk about them. But our stand is no, come and talk about it. Talk about Islam, talk about Tawheed, talk about Karbala, talk about Hussein. Yes, unless people do not talk, how they can understand? Understanding comes after communication. We should not
Hmm.
break the communication. There should be freedom of communication. People should be raising questions. We should entertain questions. We should answer questions. That is where I'm saying we should hold the balance of
Hmm.
in the freedom of expression. No abuses, no ridicule, but genuine queries, genuine viewpoints. This should always be going on, and it had been going on in Muslim civilization. It has been. There have been no beheadings, or people have raised serious questions about each other, different sections of Muslims about each other, and that's perfect. What is the problem?
Hmm. It's just that we shouldn't be offending each other, and the question to offend is and disrespect is something different, and question to understand and learn is something different. So we need to keep that balance,
Absolutely.
obviously, on.
Absolutely.
And the question, which I, because we are heading towards the end of the show, so we are just left with like around 10 to 15 minutes. So keeping that in view, so I would like to ask you, like, there is one narrative you can say, or a sense of understanding is of like victimization, when we talk about Islamophobia, when we talk about obviously living in secular societies around the globe, and how do you see that kind of narrative, like we are victim of, for example, uh, this kind of acts by the individuals around us. And we are always, when anything happen around the globe, let's say any, uh, god forbid, any a suicide bomb attack or something, we do take it in a defensive mode. We come in a defensive mode. When we haven't done it, we why do we need to be defensive and apologetic and reassuring all the time? Oh, we haven't done it, we don't do it, we are not like this. And we are like scared in doing anything we do in certain circumstances, obviously. And we are ill-treated on the airports, for instance, when we travel around the globe. And we are like disrespected in many ways when we like hijab is snatched from the girls, obviously, when in certain places, like. So there are, obviously this has a different dimension, so you have to look into them. And just tell me, what is the responsibility of Muslim, first of all, people, and obviously leaders, we see at the moment are kind of puppet in the hands of West, you can say, or they are not up to that level that we could call them our leader or something. So how should we hold the balance, and what responsibility we have to come out of this kind of victimization, self pity, and stuff like that kind of mindset, that we could live like a confident, and obviously the way we are as a Muslim. And how would you respond to this aspect of our discussion?
Yeah, this is a very good point about this victim mentality. This is something I'm feeling strongly against. I mean, it should uh, Muslims should not have the victim mentality. Victim, if you go to the English dictionary, what victimization, victimhood, victim means, there's always you do things deliberately with intention or without intention. Things happen to you sometimes, and in that case, we say there was no agency involved. Agency means that you were not the agent of doing that, or we say there was no volition. You did not deliberately do it. Now, victim, as is used in English and as it is defined in the dictionary, means when something happens to someone, uh, and that someone did not have agency. It did not happen to him or her because of something he or she deliberately did. He was caught in fire, sort of. He got victimized. He fell victim to something, but he was innocent. He did not do anything. He did not do anything deliberately. Now, Muslims, we must understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls this ummah as shuhada ala nas, that you are witness to the mankind. Witness means that the mankind should understand what is wrong, what is right, on the basis of where you are standing. You have to stand at a place which gives guidance to the rest of the mankind, what is just and what is unjust. Now, this is a very tall order, but this is how it should be. Muslims should not bring up the they should not call themselves victim, or they should not call themselves problem child. This was a program some years back, I think 4 or 5 years back. I was talking to George Galloway, the ex-member parliament here, in his show, and uh, it was the same sort of discussion about the victimhood, and the victimhood narrative was mainly strengthened by the Al Qaeda movement, by Osama bin Laden, and say 10, 15 years before, when they said that Muslims were oppressed, they are oppressed in Kashmir and Palestine, when they brought up an image of Muslims being oppressed. And that amounted to Muslims being victimized. And it was a narrative. And about this, I talked to George Galloway, and I told him, I'm here in London, and I'm very honest with the secular West. The secular West is trying to rule the world, and Islam also has a political agenda. Islam is a contestant in world leadership. Islam wants to lead the people, and I'm not shy of it. And when I say this, I will face difficulties, and that will be not victimization, because I'm saying something, because of that something is happening. So just yesterday I was commenting on a TV show, and on that I was not publicly commenting. I was just WhatsApping with the person, and they in that TV show it was said that Imam Hussain was also a victim, and I contested it. I said no, he abandoned Hajj. I mean, it was so purposeful going to Karbala. It was so thought through and purposeful that he abandoned Hajj and came there. He had a mission. He had to do something. And now, in these days, we can really understand how important that was, because the various mutilations of Islam which are being done, we wouldn't have the prophetic yardstick would have been lost if Hussein had not come to Karbala. Now that's not he did not fall victim to anything. He deliberately did something, and consequences followed. So this is we have to come out of it. We should we should not consider ourselves victims. And also, as you said, uh, I have myself found it. I mean, I have myself noticed it in sometimes in mosques, sometimes in the imam of mosque, as if uh, as if he has to as if he has as if he has to clear himself of the blame of you are the suicide bomber, you are the terrorist, and his whole khutbah goes around this, that we are not terrorists, we are peace loving, we are. Why should you do the clarification? Because you are not the suicide bomber. But the tragic reality is, I must tell you, the tragic reality is, apart from the Ahl Tashayyu, the rest of the people, the rest of the Muslims have not been considering these violent acts, suicide bombings. They have not been considering it outside Islam as they should have. They have been in Syria. We could see actually in a lecture I delivered some 3-4 years back. Someone in the audience raised the question. He asked me that in Syria, all the people, there are these extremists and Daesh and all this, but he asked me, how will you explain that within the Daesh, within that anti-Assad movement, there are all of them. Ikhwan is there, others, all of how they have been accommodated there. I admired his question. I told him this is a million dollar question, but I don't have an answer to that in that program. But this is the question, and this partly answers what you are saying, that why we are taking the blame on ourselves and then making the clarification that we are not terrorists, we are not, because something we have to get right in our mind. We are not ourselves, we are not innocent perhaps. And I said in this, the Ahl Tashayyu stands out because they have not, they are absolutely clear about these things.
Hmm. We are just left with 2 minutes, so I would like you to conclude it completely and just tell me, like, obviously, we have to take the responsibility as a nation, as an individual, as a whoever we are, wherever we are, when we are Muslim, when we say La ilaha illallah, then we do obviously share the responsibility of taking care of this world, humanity, peace, and justice on this earth, obviously, and play our best role we can. So what should we be doing in order to deal with the situations, and what is our own responsibility in order to tackle these things, and what are your conclusive remarks on that,
Yes,
setting the
the Islamophobia question basically arises uh, in societies, in countries where Muslims are usually in minority, say India, Britain, other parts of the West, France. Uh, Now, the best thing here is that we should understand the basic values of Islam and stand by it, and we should inculcate that in our character so that other our um, uh, uh, fellow countrymen, they understand from that. And the as I told you, these are vested interests. Media is there, and so many who create these prejudices against Islam. The best way to tackle those prejudices is when we stand up for Islam, and when we had been recently deliberating on it in our circles of friends, that how can we stand for intelligent Islam? Intelligent Islam means a responsive Islam, an Islam that responds, uh, an Islam that responds to the situations. If there is oppression anywhere, we we come up. It is the Muslims who first take notice of it. Whosoever is uh, whosoever is oppressed. If these things are there, automatically this Islamophobia, obviously, if Muslims are known as the flag bearers of justice, now the vested interests will have difficulty in uh, pushing the opposite narratives. And at the end, I should have said it in the beginning, but at the end, just uh, for the uh, for the accuracy part of it, Islamophobia itself is not a proper term, because phobia means phobia is a mental illness. Phobia is when people feel scared of something, and this has to do with their psychology. There's nothing. Some people feel scared boarding a plane. Uh, there's nothing wrong with that, but that is phobia. Islam, what is the antipathy to Islam or discrimination against Muslims? It does not come from phobia. It comes from, it's not any mental illness. It's a deliberate thing that people, the vested interests are creating against Islam, against Muslims. They are creating prejudices against Islam and the Muslim society and values and culture. So
Thank
this is just I thought I should have said in the beginning, but better late than never.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. It was lovely to have you on the show. We had Dr. Inayatullah Indarabi with us, who is scholar, researcher, and have a very deep view. And I hope you have understood so many things from through his discussion. When we are Muslim, we are responsible, and when we take responsibility, we think like we are the cause, and we have to solve the problem as well. So we need to take the responsibility and learn things properly, educate ourselves, and take the initiatives in order to rectify the problems around us in any manner. So I'll take a leave on this note, and inshallah we'll see you next week. Have a great day. Allah Hafiz.